Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of Desserts and Dragons, the show where I make desserts based on my favorite things in fiction and fantasy. And today we are looking at the blue dragon as well as some golden cupcakes topped with a blue raspberry buttercream complete with sparking pop rocks. Let's get started. We are starting at the beginning with the cake mix. I picked the golden cake for this one because it has less milk powder, so therefore it's easier on my stomach. But that leads to a, I don't want to say problem, but problem with the end result, which I would recommend for the non-dairy problem issue people to use the French vanilla or a white cake. You'll see why. From there, you're doing the usual. You're adding the cup of milk instead of the cup of water, and you're using the butter instead of oil. Still the same ratios are the same, and you're also adding an egg to make a more tender and full-flavored cake. Make sure that you have the melted butter as cool as possible before you add it to the cake mix, as I've said in previous videos. Also, measure the butter, you'll see me doing it, into the measuring cup because you know your girl had a little bit too much melted butter, but let's be honest, you can just put that back in the fridge and use it for later. It's fine. You're also adding the couple tablespoons of melted vanilla. Are we keeping that in here? Let's keep that in there. Melted vanilla. Just vanilla extract, it's fine, unless you want to be bougie. Use vanilla bean paste or vanilla bean pods. Both are good. I'm just cheap. You've probably seen in other videos I've cracked eggs into a separate bowl. I don't remember if I've done that, but if I've done that, then we know. But I was in a rushy mood apparently and just decided to crack the eggs into the bowl directly. Honestly, it's buyer's choice, dealer's choice, whatever. It's not going to be too much of a difference between whisking them together in a separate bowl and then adding them in, or cracking them in just as it is. It's just a fail-safe to protect against spoiled eggs and the like, and shells. Alright, so we're doing something a little different this time. We're not using Big Stand, we're using the whisk, because I decided to not skip arm day and did this all by hand, adding the couple of drops of the blue dye for vibrancy, and here's you see the error of my ways. This is making a very lovely shade of teal-ish green. This is why I said use the French vanilla or a white cake mix for this cupcake. Don't do what I do if you wanted to actually be blue. Not happy with the color of green, I decided to add more blue, thinking it would help. Well, guess what, viewers? It didn't. It's fine. Everything is fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Also, I added, as you saw, the blue raspberry pop rocks, and I wish this video had sound division. Yes, I've muted the sound, I know, because I've got music playing. You can't hear the popping that is currently happening in this cake mix, because liquid plus pop rocks equal boom! But it's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Alright, now that we have put the muffin cups in the pan, it is now time to fill, and then quickly realize that I forgot to grease said muffin cups. But you know, I am in a human vessel of some variant, and humans apparently make mistakes. It's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. So, once again, you are filling the cupcake cups to about 3/4, half-ish away full. If you want the big floofy ones, go to the 3/4 mark. If you want the smaller ones, go for the halfway mark. I figure that's the plan. Apparently, this batch led to 24 cupcakes. It's really supposed to only go for one. I, not skipping arm day, apparently got a fair amount of air into this batter. So, go me! It also could have something to do with the egg, let's be honest. So I remember to spray this tray down all the way before I added the rest of the batter. Now that they're all filled, we're going to be putting this in the oven at 350 that we have preheated in the oven. And we're going to set the timer to about between 18 minutes. Mileage and oven may vary. And we are also going to be showing you that I actually did this. It's fine. And checking the box one more time just to make sure I remembered the time. It's fine. The blue dragon. We're going to do this a little bit differently for this video, I feel like, because I wanted to switch things up just a little. Blue dragons are the masters of lightning and burrowing and making life awful in the more barren climes or rocky coasts. This includes using thunderstorms around their lair, dust devils, which are time, and sinkholes that will lead you into their lair and into their waiting maw. They are very vain, do not like being called weak or inferior. That is the quick way how to piss off a blue dragon. And out of all the things that they love to hoard, because dragons love hoarding all the things, blues specifically are big fans of gems. All this information is coming from D&D Beyond as looking at the adult blue dragon stat sheet. I also love to kind of soar into the more verdant spaces, take stuff, and bring it back to the desert, far out of the reach of the people that they stole from, and they try their best to avoid brass dragons as their competitors. And they're not afraid of using their home against you. And when I say that they will collapse their own lair if they feel invaded, and will just clean it up later, if the case may be. Blue dragons, kind of dicks, but I find that they're not as evil as their red and green counterparts. Black dragons, I kind of feel are on the same trajectory as the blue and white. It's like a hierarchy scale of evil to dumb. But I could be wrong, and you'll find out if I eat my words when I make the other two videos. Most famous blue dragon currently is Brimscythe from Critical Role. Most seen as well as the Vox Machina animated series. They are it's the prelude, the foreshadowing to the Chromatic Conclave. Also, first beaten. Not that great. Am I throwing shade at the blues a little too hard today? Maybe. But that's what I have to say about the blues. They're fine, I guess. I mean, I love me a good storm dragon, don't get me wrong. But I find the blue dragons just to be a little lackluster compared to their other counterparts. At least in my experience. I was playing in the Horde of the Dragon Queen campaign in the Rise of Tiamat. We didn't even see a blue dragon. We saw a white dragon. We saw a few white dragons. I have a story to tell you when we get to the white dragons. As well as a black dragon. Again, I have some stories. I don't have any stories for the blue dragons. It's fine. Let's get back to the cupcakes. Alright, cupcakes are out of the oven after I stuck a toothpick in them to make sure they were cool completely with nothing sticking to it. And they are teal. But that's fine. They're gonna cool, and while they're cooling, we're getting started on the buttercream. In the attempts to stop myself from being an absolute disaster gremlin, I decided to put a piece of parchment paper underneath the cup to protect from powdered sugar splash damage. So we're measuring 2 cups of powdered sugar, which is usually the standard recipe that I use, except for, that's for a dozen cupcakes. This is not a dozen cupcakes. Alright, so we're adding about a tablespoon to vanilla, and then some salt to help emulsify it and cloy back down the cloyingly sweetness, as well as our cut up room temperature butters to help better mix it with the stand mixer. And don't forget the blue dye. We've taken it over to the big stand, which you've seen a bunch of times before, but what we're going to talk about is what I'm noticing right now. I have to work quickly because it's very, very hot in this apartment, but also the buttercream that I have right here just isn't enough. It'll only do like maybe most of the first dozen. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do from here. So we're going to go back to the powdered sugar and the melted butter from earlier that's been in the fridge long enough to be softish. And we're going to be redoing or adding more to this buttercream. So I want to add about a cup. If you're going to end up with 2 dozen cupcakes, my advice is to double it. So if you had 2 cups, do 4, and so on and so forth with the rest of the recipe. I did 3, and it wasn't enough. And then we're also adding more of the Pop Rocks. I'm adding 3 packages to this buttercream so I can really just up the poppiness. And I'll be also using the rest, because I have 6 packages, as a garnish for later. Alrighty, so once you have the butter, the icing sugar, the tablespoon of milk, and a little bit of the salt, the dye, and the Pop Rocks, you're just gonna blend it all together until it's fluffy and volumized and you have the consistency that you want. Don't over mix it because you might split it, so be careful how much dye you add so you're not constantly remixing and stirring, because as you can see, I wanted it a little darker, so I went by hand as to not accidentally break my buttercream. It is piping time. Make sure the cupcakes are perfectly cool so the buttercream does not melt, which is kind of already happening because of how hot it is in the apartment. So if you have a really hot space, don't do what I'm doing and don't try to rush the process. As much as it would be great to work quickly, put the buttercream in the fridge for like 5 minutes, not even, because if you put it in too long, you'll harden it. But you just kind of want to cool it down a little bit if it's really, really hot in the space you're working. Again, don't do it for a lot. At maximum 5 minutes, but I would still even check it every minute or so just to make sure it's not hardening on you. And you don't come back to me saying, Crystal, you gave me the wrong time and now my buttercream is hard, because I will be sad. And we don't want me to be sad, and we don't want you to be sad. So, anyway, once the buttercream is the consistency you like, pop it in the piping bag with a tip, or you could just use a spoon if you don't have a piping bag or tip. Your mileage may vary as how you want to design your cupcakes. I'm using the thing that I got from college with the metal tip, and we're just doing like little lazy kid rosettes. I'm not the best at them, but as I say, as long as things taste good, do they really need to be pretty? I guess that's more of a question, but it's a rhetorical type of question. So just pipe till your heart's desire. If you have a lot of buttercream, you can also do what I usually do and add it in the middle. Now, like I said before, I had a buttercream piping yield issue, so I didn't do that. Alright, once you have your first tray fully piped, or once your tray is fully piped, put it in the fridge. That way it doesn't melt while you're cleaning up and tidying and doing things or piping your second tray. That way your buttercream doesn't get gross. Another thing you want to do, I had 6 packages of Pop Rocks, so I used 2 in the batter and 3 in the buttercream. So I used that last one as a garnish to garnish all of the cupcakes. It's me again! From a whole new spot. I'm sitting in front of the fan. Don't judge me. So, I got it on this time. Can't quite see it, I know, but you'll see it in the picture. Now I get to see what it's actually going to taste like with how I intended it. I didn't really do anything. I mean, the popping effect is there. It didn't change the flavor too much. Just give you that electric shocky pop rock thing. So it still works. I will say, I had a little bit of Pop Rock candy left over. And, I don't like the blue raspberry Pop Rocks. But on the cupcake, it tastes great. You can do this with pretty much any Pop Rock you want to try to get this electric feeling with the sour. Just make sure I like the sour kind. I had a rough time trying to find the blue ones. So if you can't, I would just use whatever Pop Rocks you want to use to try to do it. It's a neat little trick. Don't do it if it's super hot in your apartment or your house or outside. Wait till like the cooler days. I'm realizing the next couple of cupcake flavors are going to be interesting. So, yeah. Bon appetit. And that was that episode. Now, there are 2 colors left, and I figured for the next episode we're going to switch things up. So, like, follow, and subscribe to see how I deal with the black dragonflight and the white dragonflight cupcakes. Until next time, I love and appreciate every single one of you, and we will see you guys in the next video, reel, channel, wherever the hell it is you find me next. Bon appetit. Bye, guys.